If you're thinking about getting in the ALF business and you're worried about how you're going to get your beds filled, worry no more. There's a number one way to make sure your beds stay filled and make sure you have people working for you to make sure you keep those beds filled. If you want to know how, make sure you check out this video. People, as a new ALF owner, the number one way for me, and I'm sure this is the number one way for a lot of people that got started to get their beds filled, is to work with placement agencies. Placement agencies, they're pretty much realtors for assisted living facilities. So you have the big time placement agencies, care.com, a place for mom, senior living care advisors. Those are like the top companies. They're more US based, more so specific to certain cities and state and areas, but they can crank out leads. So my experience working with the larger places are, you just receive a lead. You don't get any too much details about them. You get a little bit of information about their history, and then it's up to you to contact the family and work the details out with them. Now, some of those placement agencies, they want money up front, and they want much more than the industry standard, which is, I think they ask for 120%. So if your resident pays, for rough numbers, $1,000 a month, they want $1,200 for placing a resident in your facility, which is much more than the industry standard. In my experience, the best thing to do is to work with placement agencies that are specific to your area. So there are a lot of companies that, they make their living by placing residents in assisted living facilities. So you can go on Google and type in placement agencies for seniors in Florida, placement agencies for seniors in Georgia, whatever state that you're going to be in, you can potentially contract with each of those placement agencies. I've had a placement agency that referred a resident to me that was 2 hours away, but I just decided to reach out to all the ALFs. All the placement agencies that were in Florida for the most part, the ones that I could find on LinkedIn or on Google. I reached out to them and said, hey, I'm in Port St. Lucie. If you have someone that needs to move up or someone that's moving down, I'm the place to be. I'm the one you need to see. So that was my way of just trying to spread my wings, because they make a living by placing these people, so they weren't able to come and see it, but I sent them videos. I sent a walkthrough video. I sent pictures so they can actually see what the facility looks like. So most of these agencies, or placement agencies, they want to work with the nice facilities. They work with the big box facilities. They work with the residential facilities, but they have their preferred facilities based on how nice it looks, what the families say, how your residents act when they do tours at the facility. I had a resident that, when we did a tour, the resident, so we were really close, so whenever I'm there, she spent majority of her time with me. She appreciated when I was there. But when we did a tour, she followed us around the entire facility, asking questions, and that kind of made the new family feel uncomfortable. So they decided to go somewhere else. So all of those things are taken into consideration when they're doing a tour. And they're like, they don't want to lose out on a potential placement because your residents aren't always on their best behavior. So they may prefer to show other properties. So they contract with all of the agencies or most of the ALFs in your area. So when they are contacted by a family member or someone that needs to find a place for mom, they say, hey, this is such and such. I'm looking for a place for my mom to stay long term. Here's my budget. Here's her history. Here's her diagnosis. And let me know what you have. So from there, the placement agency sends them a list of facilities based on their budget, whether they want to go big box or residential. And the family say, okay, based on the list you sent me, I like these 3 or 4. Sometime, based on where they're located, they may not even make it to the 3rd or 4th. It could be based on how close the facility is to their home, or the first one they seen, they really fell in love with. So you could have been the better option, but based on the route of where they were going, they decided to choose the first place they seen, So it's all hit or miss, but you can keep a potential client coming in or seeing a facility, and whether they choose you or not, it's up to your facility, up to your presentation, and how the showing goes. I call it showing because that's what we call it in real estate. But from there, if the resident is placed with you, then it's pretty much a payment structure on how you set things up. So the industry standard is kind of 100% of the first month's rent. So if that resident is placed for $4,000, then within 30 days, they want 50%, which would be $2,000. And within the next 30 days, they want the other 50%, which would be $2,000, which will cover. And from there, all that income would be yours. There are some facilities, or I'm sorry, I keep saying facilities. There are some placement agencies that may take 80% if you do it in one payment. That may not always be the best case because sometimes they recommend hospice residents that may need placement, and they may be there for a short time. So if you pay that 80% up front and then they don't make it to next month, then that can be a potential loss. So you can do, make your own discretion based on how you would want to do that and see if that works for you. But at the end of the day, it's all negotiable. So, hey, if you're the hottest ALF in the area, you probably wouldn't have to pay that 100% because, you get people coming in all the time. Once people walk in, they love it. They don't see anything else. So if it's an easy sale for the placement agency, then, it'll be something that you can negotiate to kind of lower your rate. But if you're just getting started and people don't know if, they're going to like the place or not, but you have a nice place, then, you want to work with those placement agencies to get those placements and make sure you get your beds filled as fast as possible. And you don't have to work with one placement agency. I kind of work with 3 or 4 smaller agencies in the area, so first come, first serve, so I've been contacted by different agencies with different residents, and if it works out, you can kind of choose which resident makes more sense based on your population and the rate that they're going to pay, and how much attention they need. So all those things can come into factor when you choosing which resident based on the placement agency, or you may have a better relationship with this one because they always bring someone in, or that one only shows up once every 3 months. So it's up to you. You have to make that decision as a bonus, as a business owner, and kind of figure things out from there. But that's my 10 cent on placement agencies, and you definitely want to use them to keep your beds filled, to keep everything going, to keep some showings going or some tours going, to make sure that if you do get a empty bed, you're reaching out to them and saying, hey, I got a mail room available for a shared mail, or I got a private room available for any, or this is the rate. You reach out to all of them and touch base throughout the year or every month just to make sure they keep you in the top of mind when they do get a potential client that needs placement. So again, my name is Chuck Frederick, owner/administrator of Helping Hands Residential Care Home. Appreciate you guys watching. If you got any questions, if you want to do any consulting or anything like that, you can reach out to me on Instagram, dgt.chuck, or Facebook, Charles Frederick. Looking forward to speaking with you. Until next time.